Welcome to Justice Losers, the podcast where we discuss entertainment media, namely movies, TVs, and comics. I'm your host, Preston, joined as always by my delightful co-host,
Pac-Man.
Matt, what should people do?
Like, subscribe, and start a fright in the comments.
It wasn't me this time!
Dang it. It was, but we edited it out.
That's true.
Start a fight in the comments. This one's going to be less controversial. It's more going to be me showing my lack of knowledge in video games.
No, it's less of that. I think we'll get into it a little bit.
We'll see.
It'll be more of a discussion. I framed it as a little quiz at the beginning, and then we'll discuss more. So we might end up with some controversial opinions and
okay, sounds good.
Stuff like that.
And you might find it controversial just how little I know about video games. That might offend your delicate sensibilities.
Yeah.
Dear Snowflake.
I was going to say the same thing.
So if you've got a problem with how little I know about video games, let me know in the comments on whatever app you're listening or watching to this on, if they have a comments section.
Matt,
Preston.
what do you know about video games?
They're a waste of time and for terrible people only.
Ow. Hey.
Went right for the controversy.
Really? This week we want to talk about iconic video game characters. Characters that have breached into the cultural, mind.
Zeitgeist? Ethos,
I think. I could have done a whole bunch of characters and talk about them, but I didn't have a whole lot of time, and it's really hard to research and come up with these questions.
Yep.
So I'm doing 3. There are 3 characters that I personally, you can disagree and fight me, are the most iconic characters that people know. That is Pac-Man, Mario, and Sonic.
Okay.
I think everyone knows those 3 characters. All right, so these are the 3 large ones, and I want to talk about some, these are the 3 ones that I feel have made the most image. Like, if you put a picture of one of these, people will be able to identify not only who the character is, but also kind of the basic structure of the game.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about Mario, you're like, oh yeah, he it's a platformer and he jumps and stuff like that. You think about Sonic and he goes real fast, and you might think of rings, but you know that that he goes real fast and stuff like that. You think of Pac-Man, you know the maze. These are the common ones that everyone knows. You think of Zelda, and let's say some casual 45-year-old dude sees a picture of Zelda on the back of a car. That's kind of seeing a bumper sticker on the back of a car is kind of how that's kind of the threshold.
Yeah.
Because it's something you see often, and it's usually something that's very simple, like just the picture of the character.
Right.
So let's say a 45-year-old man's driving around, he sees a picture of Link on the back of the car, and he goes, that's from that Zelda game thing. Probably doesn't really know what the structure of the game is, doesn't really know rupees, doesn't know it's an open world game, doesn't really know about the Triforce, but kind of maybe knows the character. But Mario, Sonic, and Pac-Man.
Right.
Why? Why have those ones just made it to every 45-year-old man's brain?
I can't really speak to Sonic particularly, but I think they originally had just good popular games. And Pac-Man not so much, but I think Mario, there's a lot of room to build on it as video game technology progresses. And so as you add the 3D element with the Nintendo 64, you can still build a Mario game that still fits to the same basic sensibility, but you complicate it.
Yeah.
And as you get to more and more interesting consoles and more leaps in the technology and the things you can do with the world, you can expand on what you have, and it allows it to self-perpetuate. It was set up for success. Sonic, I imagine, fits in the same realm, but I've never played a Sonic game, so I couldn't say. And Pac-Man, I think, it's elemental, and it's bright, and it's fun, and it's kind of well balanced. You can be good at it, but it's also it does have a level of challenge to it.
Yeah.
But it's something where you can just feel yourself getting better. So I think that one just survived because it's such a simple concept, but it's got its own unique visual landscape to it, and because it's a just perfectly playable game.
You're making your own really good points that all kind of dance around the ones that I had as well. Right. So for one, Sonic, the first 4 games were really, really good. Okay. The original game you think of is just, it's the 2D platformer.
Yep.
doing puzzle, like little loops
runs
and stuff
in
like
loops
that.
and collects rings.
Yep.
I've seen a clip of it before, probably.
Beyond that game is when they stopped focusing on the reflexes and really quickly solving puzzles. But later games, they focus really hard on the just gotta go fast. Because, gotta go fast. And it became
Makes
less
sense.
like, it just... Like, you get the really big, like, Sonic Boom, like, the really obvious, terrible games that Sonic, the Sonic fan base abhors. But that hasn't killed the popularity of the character because there is that original game that they occasionally go back to. And the other one is that, similar as Mario, is that they're pioneers of tech, where the first game, it was... Like, first Mario game was Donkey Kong, where he was a carpenter.
Right.
And there was a narrative to it. It was the first video game with a narrative to the story. Then, with Super Mario Brothers, like, that first platform, like the first kind of left to right platformer, solid gameplay. Yeah. Like, it just worked. It was simple. There were no tutorials. You just kind of like they introduce aspects as you go, and a 6-year-old can play it. Yeah.
And it's fun and engaging, and it's got enough interesting elements that you can keep going. Like, you can get the little flying thing or the little shooty thing, but like there's only so much of that. It's not overcrowded with mechanics, but at the same time there's enough to keep it engaging as well.
And then with the 3D with this N64 they revolutionized the 3D camera following the character rather than camera being the character, with stuff like that. So that kind of touches on your it's space to develop. Like, it's a simple enough game that it develops. I think that's more of just the ability of the creators to develop in an interesting way. I think you could do it with anything, because the change from Donkey Kong to Super Mario Brothers is immense, right? But it's still the same character. Like, it's just completely different. But every time they make a new game, they keep elements of the previous game. So that's why it feels like a development in natural ways. So from Donkey Kong to Super Mario Brothers, you have the platforming, jumping over things. Right. Then from Super Mario Brothers to N64, you still have jumping on Goombas and hitting things with your head and getting mushrooms and stuff like that, and lives, right? But it adds the element of, side to side movement. Pac-Man is just simple, like you said, like it's very simple and very accessible. Yeah. And kind of along the same lines you mentioned that, like, there's not a threshold, or it's simple enough that you can be good at it, but there's still a challenge enough that you can work to get better and better at it. Yeah. And that, I think, that is the same for both Pac-Man and Sonic. Let's kind of tie those two together, because you could just go through the game and you'll kind of accidentally eventually end up at the end of the game if you just don't know what you're doing. Right. But, like, you can learn all the little, like, intricacies and, like, get better and faster reflexes, like, that revolutionized speedrunning. So my major point was simplicity. Okay. Because you don't really do much in Mario with the besides going to the right and jumping on things, hitting them with your head, and getting to the end of the level. Yeah. And then they'll tell you, princess is in another castle. Yeah, I mean, it's a very simple game at the end of the day. You go from point A to point B. Right. You encounter obstacles. Yep. Pac-Man, eat the things, eat the other things, eat a thing to eat the bigger things. And then Sonic is, again, point A to point B with some mini puzzles along the way. Yeah. But I feel like there's more to it than just simplicity. Like, this is where, like, I'm stuck and where I want to talk about. Frogger is simple. It's true, yeah. But then it would be really cool. What? An open world Frogger game. Where you're just Frogger 2, The Great Escape. I had that one too. But yeah, no, Frogger is very simple. But why did that not make it so clearly? It might be because no, I don't. Just it didn't get lucky and didn't develop. That could be a thing. Get lucky with the developer. It is also more of just it is natural imagery. Like, you see frogs run across the road. Yeah. You see frogs it's basically a real world. Yeah.
Mario and Sonic have these super fantastical elements. Like, it's just a blue hedgehog who runs fast. What drugs are you on right now?
Yeah.
A plumber who jumps on things to kill him, and when he eats mushrooms, he gets big. What kind of mushrooms have you eaten? I had to make one of those jokes.
Yeah.
Pac-Man, okay, you're a giant circle, and there's ghosts. Like, it's so out of left field that it, like, the very unnatural element of it sticks in your brain more.
Yeah.
So
if you see a bumper sticker of a frog, could just be of a frog.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be a Frogger. I mean, it's a combination, I think, of both the audience remembering it and then also the developer taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
And developing it further.
Right. Because, like, Dig Dug has some weird, striking ideas in it, but that one never really went anywhere.
Yeah. But all these other games, there are changes.
Expansions somehow.
Like real expansions.
Yeah. And, like, I feel like a lot of these games, you know, Dig Dug could be expanded somehow.
Yeah. But it just doesn't have that following that would justify the time and effort to expand it.
Right.
So it didn't get lucky. It didn't
Yeah. Call of Duty's been doing the same thing since about 1978, but that was pretty popular.
I think, well, does anyone ever remember the storyline of Call of Duty?
I don't.
I think Call of Duty specifically is a communal game. Like, you could see Call of Duty and you know that people play it, but I think the mentality of those is that it's a multiplayer game that you play with people. It's like It's more of a community thing, less of a story thing.
Right.
Also, who doesn't like killing zombie Nazis?
It's always fun.
Yep. Nostalgia also plays into a lot of this.
Yeah.
Because Pac-Man is arcades, like, has a very 80s vibe.
Yep. I think that's going to be partly a function of just the originality too. Like, it's not going to stick in your memory and be something that you have nostalgia for if it's something bland and kind of uninteresting.
Like, it was because of the challenge it had. Like, people remember standing around the arcade while the guy who would put his high score code as ass would work as hard as he could to be able to put it at ass as number one.
Yep.
Mario was just revolutionary, and, like, you can remember all of the stages. People remember the N64 so much, and people also still play the Super Mario Brothers. And it's also, that one also has just developed so much into spin-off games that are just their own. Like, Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. Can exist on their own without Mario. Yeah. Like, you take Mario out of the game, people are still going to play those games. Yeah. So I think that adds to your point of building, having a foundation. Yeah. Mario specifically, you now have 3 full on their own franchises that can be tracked down to this one character. Yeah. And I think everyone knows that, whether it be consciously or subconsciously.
Mario offspring.
And Sonic, I think the nostalgia is the nostalgia for the good games.
Yeah, probably.
The fact that they solidified it 3 other times, people think back and go, man, remember when Sonic was good? I haven't played all the Sonic games. I haven't played a single Sonic game.
Me neither.
But I know so much about Sonic. Like, just, I just know what it's about. Like, I can visualize the levels so well.
All right.
Matt,
Preston,
say the thesis. What's our conclusive thesis?
Certain video game characters, in particular Sonic and Mario and Pac-Man, have become cultural touchstones in their own right because they are striking images with interesting worlds, for which people have a lot of nostalgia, and they have either good elemental games themselves or good elemental games upon which a whole world can be built. That was a long thesis, but you know what? We hit a lot of things.
Yep. Hey guys, Preston here. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked what you saw here, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you know when we upload these every Thursday. If you want to hear more, we have an unabridged version on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, and any other podcast app. Check us out on Instagram at JusticeLosersPod. See you next week.